Hey everybody, it's JB from Darkside Records here. Really quick, before we get to the podcast...
Are you talking about the internet?
We are talking about the internet.
No.
It's on computers now.
And I hear that most people, kids and otherwise nowadays, have these things called phones.
Go on.
Which they never use to call anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They just use things called apps.
That's because they also have anxiety.
Well, quell some of that anxiety by downloading the brand new Darkside Records app.
Yeah.
Available in the Apple and Android App Store. You can preview music, see new releases, reserve upcoming releases, and just straight out buy shit.
You get all the latest news, you can get updates from us, you can get access to everything that's going on in the store, all right at the tips of your greasy little fingers.
Resting comfortably against your thigh.
Maybe that's bad. Shouldn't you? I hear you're not supposed to put the phone in your front pocket.
Oh, I always do.
Oh.
I like those. I like the way those microwaves feel.
It's confusing.
I keep mine in this front pocket. Yeah.
He already had kids, so he's fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this explains why they're kind of weird.
So go to the App Store, download our new app, go to darksiderecords.com, check it out. You can find links to downloading the app there. If you're not familiar with how to do that,
It's not for you. The internet's not for you. You're being left behind.
we should probably have a talk. What the hell? If you don't understand how all that shit works, come on into the store.
We'll
put it on your
download
phone.
it for you.
Come on. We'll put it on your phone.
Oh, you're
We'll take care of
opening
you.
a can of worms there. What? What do you want me to say? I got nothing. What are you looking at me for?
All right, let's get to the podcast.
This is the Darkside Records and Gallery Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Darkside Records podcast, brought to you as always by the good folks here at Darkside Records, located at 611 Dutchess Turnpike in Poughkeepsie, or on the web, darksiderecords.com. JB here, just wanted to give a quick heads up at the top of the podcast. Just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who came out and spent their Black Friday here at Darkside Records. And everyone also who came out and supported us here on Small Business Saturday on November 24th and 25th. We had a wonderful day, such a good time, so good to see so many great faces here in-house. We love you all. So we sat down for a couple of interviews with some folks in the line on Black Friday, as we always do, but we also have something special this episode. A few days back, we sat down for an interview with Ozark Henry, Belgian electronic musician who was performing at BSP in Kingston. His live show consists of a unique, immersive sound experience. He can explain it a lot better than we can. So halfway through the podcast, we'll swap over and you can hear that interview. So that's it. Thanks again. Thanks for listening. As always, if you enjoy this podcast, or if you just have nothing better to do, head on over to your iTunes, leave us a nice review, leave us a couple stars. I don't want to tell you how many, but it should be a minimum of 5 to 20,000. It helps us be seen by new folks so we can share whatever this is with new ears around the world. So that all being said, here's our Black Friday podcast. That is the curse of recording. It's the curse of showmanship.
You just wear a wire like a snitch all the time.
I could do that.
Hey, that would work.
This is why.
Wire? I'm not wearing a wire.
Could you imagine how many different things you could get if you were wearing a wire?
This is why the first 20 minutes of our podcast is just us talking, because I just hit record way early.
Yeah.
And then as we're getting set up,
That you end up deleting.
usually 20 minutes of it. Yeah.
20 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Last year was quite a bit.
So, hey, everybody, welcome to the Darkside Records podcast. It is a chilly November 24th here at 8-something in the morning. I am here at the head of the line with a couple folks who have been here braving the cold, braving the Poughkeepsie, braving the police, waiting in line, of course, to be early in the line for the Black Friday Record Store Day pieces. Today is, of course, Black Friday. We're opening 9 a.m. early. I don't know why I'm saying all this because it's already happened by the time you're listening to this. Not early enough.
Not early.
You want us to be open earlier?
Yeah, if we're going to be here at like 11:30 at night, 9 o'clock, this is a little late.
Look,
you know?
you made your own choices, all right? You made your own bed.
I think she's right,
very
Jimmy. I'm going
dedicated.
Now you got to
make
lay
an
in it.
executive
Thank you,
decision to get everyone
Berto.
here at 11 p.m. on Thanksgiving. We're going to be one of those stores.
No. talking. They're like, not you guys. You know, we can just all hang out and have food together, just chill out.
Yeah, we had a whole barbecue set. It was too cold to actually turn on the stove and barbecue anything, but we had the food and everything set up.
Chewing on frozen bacon.
I did.
The hot dogs are still frozen. I didn't have them on ice.
I did hear rumors that there was going to be a deep fried turkey that was going to happen in the parking lot this year.
Yeah,
Did that
didn't
happen?
It didn't happen.
No,
But it
there
didn't
was.
happen
We had a
because
we
negative
never heard the
one.
fire alarm go off,
You know,
so
the
I figured
negative
that-
one. You know.
For the record,
You know.
for the record, when you deep fry a turkey, all open at 8 a.m. Okay, that's the deal.
All right, next
Deal.
year.
It's going to be him.
Okay.
It's gonna be only him. We'll help you, JD.
So I'm here at the front of the line, and I've got, of course, here with me the first, let's say, 4 or 5 people who are in line. He walked away. Does that mean he doesn't want to be at this spot in line?
Chris,
Or
do you not want to be in?
it's very early. He's been up all night. It makes sense.
No, he's been sleeping in the. He slept in the car all night.
So he shouldn't have been tired.
Boo this man.
Car sleeper.
In my defense,
so
I work
mean.
a 12-hour day. Yeah, so
No, I do have to say,
over 2,000 people in my defense.
Maybe the natives are getting restless out here.
I feel like anybody who sleeps in their car, it's always typically frowned upon, but you've probably been through some shit. Yeah. So
We've been
it's
very
judgment free.
nice, so.
Judgment free. So you guys are first in line. I'll start over here.
You just got booed by the rest of the line.
No, people
Just because you say judgment free doesn't make it so.
who sleep in their cars. We're not judging them.
Okay.
This guy sucks. Why don't you guys just say your names real quick for the podcast?
Chris?
The Withrows.
The Withrows. Yes.
Feldman?
Devin.
Chris.
Cool, you guys. Thanks for coming out so early. What time did you all get here? I'm assuming yesterday for most of you. What time did you get here?
It was about 11:45.
Quarter to 12.
Yeah.
So technically yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. With Rose?
We were. He was here just a couple minutes before we were, so about the same time.
We were sad.
We were
weren't first.
deflated.
But hey,
actually,
it's okay.
We almost turned around and went home. But,
We got a fellow head, so it's all right. You know. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm good. Jerry's
good.
proud.
We're good.
Steve, what time did you get here?
About 5 to 12.
What? Did you guys carpool?
No, we just. No.
But we had the food
just
and we
talked
had
about it, so.
everything, but then it was too cold to barbecue.
So you brought the food, but what didn't you have to make food?
Warm temperature outside.
I'm literally looking at a tank of propane and a heater. I don't.
Dude, it didn't make it that warm.
It's warm in here, but it wasn't warm out by where the grill was.
The grill has fire in it.
Hey, I have a chocolate
Yeah,
mousse
but we got
pie
to set that whole
in
thing
my
up.
Chocolate mousse.
Plus, everyone was stuffed from the turkey.
The deep fried turkey,
The
right?
deep fried turkey that did not exist.
Right.
The regular turkey.
that didn't happen. Yeah.
What about you guys? What time did you get here?
4.
4 in the morning.
2:30.
2:30 in the morning. Why is this guy standing in front of you?
Because he was talking to him.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about your Thanksgiving. What did you do yesterday for Thanksgiving that your family is pissed off at you for leaving to come to stand in front of a record store for?
Well, I actually cooked yesterday. I actually worked, so I didn't actually spend Thanksgiving with my family.
What the? You're fucking
then I
double
left-
dipping in the bad,
And I
man.
double dipped and left right here for Darkside. So yeah. It's,
Where do you work? If you want to say on the podcast, you
I
can.
work
You can
at,
not say.
Mohawk Mountain House in New Paltz.
Oh, sweet! Can you get me in for free?
I can get you a discount for sure. Yeah.
I mean, nothing. Do they do like a cool Thanksgiving like meal at Mohawk?
Yeah, they have like a buffet, and then they do a plated dinner. You know, we had 1,200 people for lunch.
Holy shit!
You know, they do like 30-pound birds and stuff. You know, we have a lot of food. I mean, I don't know how many potatoes we had. Over 100 pounds of potatoes. You know?
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's just insane.
That's insane. Cool. With Rose, what about you? What is your Thanksgiving typically like?
We go to my in-laws' house, and, which is only about a mile and a half down the road from our house. And
Easy commute.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
we had a nice dinner, and it
Baking since 6 o'clock in the morning. Oh yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, we baked a lot of stuff at home. They baked a lot of stuff there, and it was nice. And we we cut.
Okay, sorry. We were so rudely interrupted by Beacon Bagel, who is here. Yes, bringing coffee and food. So you guys were talking about getting baked at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, well, no, baking too, but yeah, that baked is good anytime during the day. But
she was around 6. I didn't get up till around 8.
That makes sense.
So,
that makes sense.
Probably baked at 8.
There's a cup inside. It's a morning coffee cup with a
The one we sell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's a pretty cool cup.
It's awesome.
I had
Indeed.
to buy one for a gift for my brother too. So.
Because he loves
his coffee.
Loves coffee.
He enjoys his morning coffee so much.
Steve, what about you, buddy? What's your Thanksgiving like?
Go to mom's early. We're set up while my aunt cooks. Then the cousins come over and everyone yells and screams at each other for about 4 or 5 hours. They leave. I clean up, and then I come here early to make sure I get a parking spot.
That's basically how I envision it in my mind. Just screaming at all times.
Running around, animals running around. Yeah.
Maybe throwing a baby out of a second-story window.
That doesn't usually happen.
More of a toddler.
It was one time.
It was one time, and it was more of a toddler.
Really quick, before I bounce around a little bit, tell me what releases are you here for? What brought you out at the butt crack of midnight on this freezing cold night?
Well, if my jacket gives it away, I'm definitely picking up a dead item.
Okay.
I'm going to be grabbing the Sublime picture disc.
Okay.
McCartney and a couple other things. Yeah.
Cool. With Rose, what about you? What brings you out?
Garcia, Janis Joplin, Clutch, Humphreys McGee, Blue Oyster Cult.
None of these are shocking to me.
They shouldn't.
These are your
They
picks.
shouldn't.
Yeah. These are easy with picks.
You know
for
us real well. Yeah.
Steve Z, what about you?
Dimebag Darrell.
Ooh,
Twisted
did not see
Sister.
That coming. Okay, so that coming.
Steel Panther.
Okay.
Paul McCartney.
I feel like
Muddy Waters.
I feel like I lump you into the with pick, like generally in terms of your music taste, but now I'm saying that I'm like a decade behind in where your tastes like really start to flourish.
It's more of a hair metal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I like this. I'm getting a better understanding. What about you guys? What brings you out this early in the morning?
Let's see. McCartney, Cheap Trick, the Ryan Adams, Mike Wash, a little bit of everything. It's bouncing around.
Grateful Dead.
So 3 deads right at the gate here.
So I believe JJ's in, somewhere around a decent number at least. So I think we're all.
You guys should be fine. You should be fine.
All right, good. That's what I like to hear.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, as always, for being here on Black Fridays.
For having an awesome record store.
So, stop it.
Brown nose, Jesus Christ.
Brown nosing will get you records. Yes.
Thank you, JB, for everything you do for us here.
You're very welcome. Thank you, guys. I'll see you guys inside.
In about
momentarily.
11.
Hey everybody, JB here from Darkside Records. It is now about, I'm going to say, 6 minutes to 9. It is almost time to go inside. Almost time where I can freeze up my own feet, which I am, needless to say, the most worried about. Mainly because I'm selfish. But I'm here in line. I'm about halfway down the line. I see a couple faces that I know this morning, and 2 faces that I'm happy to say are 2 of my favorite Metallica fans who were here for our Midnight Metallica that we did about 2 weeks ago. So why don't you guys just say who you are?
Go
Pete?
ahead. And I'm Sarah.
Pete and Sarah are number 1 Metallica fans for the Hudson Valley, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You guys you run a chapter of the Metallica fan club?
Well,
something like that?
We used to run it. We founded it, we started it, but I've given it off to other people since then. But we are very heavily involved.
What's that? What's it called?
New York Attitude.
And okay, so you guys are mildly obsessed, which is totally fine. And can you tell me a little bit about that? What did you guys do for that?
Well, the chapter's been around for maybe 3 years. Is it 4 years?
Longer.
Oh, I don't remember. But with the chapter, we have like chapter parties, and we had, when the new album was released last year, we had a big party for the release. So we have a lot of parties with people around New York. It's the entire state. Most of the people are in the city, but we also all get together at Metallica shows all over the world and have parties and hang out and do fun things.
Awesome.
Share hotel rooms, rent cars.
Trips.
Yeah. Now it's getting sexy. I like this.
Whatever it takes to get our folks to the show, that's what we do.
And just so you always have people to hang out with that you have things in common with.
Cool. Have you guys met the band?
I have.
You have? Tell me about how you got to meet Metallica.
When I was the head of our chapter, I was able to go to the Webster Hall show, and I wrote an article for their So What magazine about my experience with them the entire day. So I actually got to listen to the album with the press before it was released.
Ooh.
The day of Webster Hall, and then I went to the show, and I was backstage all day. I got to listen to the sound check. It was really awesome.
That is awesome. Yeah. That's the 2016 Webster Hall show?
Yes.
The one that is coming out on vinyl today.
Yes.
In fact.
Yes.
From the band. That's awesome. Can we hear you on the recording?
No, but you can hear James dedicates a song to Pete during the encore.
Just before Whiskey.
He'll
ask the audience, where's Pete? And that's me. I'm Pete.
So you're the guy that they're talking about on the LP that comes out today.
Yes.
That is awesome. So you did not get to go.
No.
And meet the band.
I stood outside all day hoping I'd get into the show while she was backstage partying with the band.
Typical.
Yes.
Typical. Goes inside, leaves us behind.
And he didn't even know because they wouldn't let me use my phone while I was back there, so I couldn't even text him what I was doing all day.
That's crazy. So like, was it fear of like leaking something,
because I listened to the album before it was released, so I guess they didn't want me to leak any of the album.
Okay, I can see that. I heard a rumor about Guns N' Roses that was a very similar thing.
And we went to that show?
We went to the Guns N' Roses show at the Apollo.
Sweet. So both the releases that are out today, you were at both of those?
Yes.
Did you get a shout out at the other one too? Or just just the one?
We waited in the loser line all day and they just let us in.
Don't call it that. Is that actually what it's called?
That's what I think that's
when you don't win the contest,
you're a loser, so you stand in the loser line and hope they'll let you in.
So second place is first loser?
Yeah.
That's
right.
Okay, I got it.
And we did it for the Apollo show for Metallica and Guns N' Roses.
Wait, Guns N' Roses did an Apollo show too?
Yeah. When was that?
Not that long ago.
It was this year.
Within 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was kick-ass.
I totally missed that.
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
3 straight hours.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is now officially after 9 o'clock, and we've done something that we should have been doing, I think, all along since we've been doing these record store days on very cold days of the year, which is we moved the entire line inside the store, wrapping around the outside edge to the back of the store. This was a very smart move.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so tell me, Sarah, Metallica Sarah. I'll come up with a better nickname later. So, really quick, just to finish up talking about Metallica, how many times have you seen Metallica live?
35.
35 times.
Yep.
How many times have you seen Metallica?
Same.
Have you seen them together every single time?
No, she's done a couple without me, but I've done a couple without her in the 80s.
He did in the 80s.
So I went in the 80s without her, and she went recently without me.
So what was the first Metallica show you went to?
April of '86 at Nassau Coliseum when they opened for Ozzy.
So Master of Puppets tour?
Yes, one of Cliff's last. Yes.
You saw Cliff Burton?
Yes. I don't remember. I was 13, but yes.
It's still just write it out, man. It's awesome. Just go with it.
But yes, my carcass was in that building. My brain just doesn't remember it. But yeah, I was at that show.
I have a similar story where I got to see Mr. Bungle, but I remember literally none of it.
But you were there.
I was technically there. I do remember getting punched in the face. I don't remember the band, but I remember getting punched in the face.
So
that's a story for another podcast. What about you? What was the first time you saw Metallica?
Oakland, 2008.
2008.
During Death Magnetic.
Okay.
I'm a new fan.
So you've seen them 35 times since 2008.
Yep.
Holy shitballs. That's, by my count, 16 times a year.
I saw them 5 times last month.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're really...
5 times last month, 3 the month before.
Yeah, we went to the UK shows, Amsterdam, Denmark.
Wow.
Those shows, yeah.
So you've seen worldwide Metallica shows?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Around, yeah.
That's amazing. I've probably seen Metallica like 10 times, maybe 15 times.
That's good.
My best friend in high school, his dad worked for a job where they traded out something with like all the local New York stadiums, so we always got tickets to all the shows. So he was always like, "Hey, you want to go see Metallica?" And we're like, "I mean,
awesome, yeah,
sure."
I wish I liked them in the 80s. I would have gone more.
Yeah.
So did you not like Metallica in the 80s?
Nope.
What did you like in the 80s?
Huey Lewis.
Maybe I should preface this in a way that doesn't sound insulting, but how old are you?
I'm 40.
You're 40.
Yeah.
Okay. You're 2 years older than me. Okay. Okay. So in the 80s, you were listening to Huey Lewis.
Yeah, Journey, classic rock.
Okay, then what happened?
I met him.
I said, this won't stand any longer.
I met him.
I see. So it's kind of like a Stockholm Syndrome thing that's happening right here. Okay, I got it. Okay, well, so tell me, besides the 2 Metallica shows that you were at that are out today, that I'm assuming you already have copies of for some reason.
These are remastered, right? So they're...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I saw some kind of label. We're going to buy them
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay, good. If nothing else, just so you can have a record that Metallica says your name on specifically.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That is maybe the coolest goddamn thing I've ever heard in my
Even though
life.
he just says, "Where's Pete out there?" But
doesn't matter.
It counts.
Doesn't matter.
But it's on the video. It's on the video.
See, it's...
Oh, yeah.
In your face. They got
And I'm on the video, yes.
Yeah.
It counts. Okay, so what are you here for today on the Black Friday list?
Anthrax.
That's it?
Well, that's what we're here for.
Just 2 Anthraxes?
I'm getting my friend a couple things.
Some Queen stuff.
We're getting Dimebag Darrell and Roger Taylor.
I notice you haven't checked off your list. You're going to wing it when you get up to the counter?
Initials next to the names, like you see.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I put the check boxes there, so you wouldn't need to do the initial system. You could just put a check
who
mark.
It's for. Like, that's my friend's name, so that I remember that I don't keep it. So I don't keep it. Yeah, so mostly for my friend, but we're getting Anthrax. That's what we came for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming to Black Friday.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming to Midnight Metallica.
That was awesome.
This is the holiday season for us.
It's the
This is the
look.
holiday.
That's how everyone in this room feels. So don't sweat that.
That's what matters.
This is what matters.
$200 TVs, whatever.
So I assume we will do this again next time there's a Metallica release and/or a record store day thing.
Yep.
Big time.
Good.
Definitely.
Good. Cool, you guys. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, podcast.
I like that you're talking directly to the podcast itself, not to our listeners or anything.
Oh.
Just
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
a first.
The podcast is pretty special.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's my baby. Is really what it is. So we are indoors. It is a couple minutes after 9. The line is chugging along here at Black Friday at Darkside Records. I'm standing in line next to. Should I say that we're friends, or should I pretend like you're a stranger?
Stranger.
Pretend you're a stranger.
Danger.
Okay. I'm here with a total stranger. What is your name, sir or madam?
Tori Amos.
That is not your name.
It's Aaron O'Neill.
Aaron O'Neill, thank you for coming to Black Friday, first and foremost. I see you are wearing a Tori Amos t-shirt today.
Yes, it was actually designed by Rance Hosley, who was curator of her comic book tattoo book and has worked with Tori on various projects like her tour book since the beginning of her career. So it's pretty cool. He's known her since the Why Can't Tori Read days, and he actually just designed the super cool, under-fucking-rated Why Can't Tori Read shirt for her tour, which has been selling out. They had to, make a new version of it.
I have so many follow-up questions to everything you just said to me. I have so many questions.
Almost as cool as these new Darkside record Twin Peaks-inspired shirts, which I definitely want to pick up some of those.
I see what you did there. I
Yeah.
see what you did. Nice move. Nicely done. I assume you're here to get the Tori records.
I am.
And CD.
All throughout. 2 vinyls, 1 CD. But there's a couple other things on my Christmas list.
Oh, yeah? What else is on your list?
I'm going to get Chuck Berry.
Okay.
Going to get Snoop Dogg.
Okay.
And I'm going to get Biggie. Can't you see? The reissue of Hypnotize.
I like this. This is good. I like this. Okay. And you just got back in town.
Yes, I was on the Tory tour.
You were on a tourie.
A tourie.
You were on a tourie.
I went touring.
So you've been following Tori around on tour. How many shows did you go see?
This time, only 8.
Only eight. This time.
Yeah.
So you took off time from work so you could follow Tori around on tour.
Yeah, I did.
What shows did you go see?
We went to they called it Philadelphia, but it was really Upper Darby, which is a not so nice town. I wouldn't suggest it for anything. Then I saw her twice at the Beacon, which can't go wrong with the Beacon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I flew to Nashville. Nashville was A-okay. I liked it there a lot. Then New Orleans. Wasn't totally impressed with that city, but it was the best show at the tour. And it was a legendary show in the history of Tori Amos shows.
Why is that?
She was sick, and she had been saving her voice. She did a meet and greet that day. She met like 90 people without talking. Photos, she's writing them notes, everything. And so she had to change up her set list because she couldn't sing in her higher register of voice. So everything that she did was in the lower register. But for the first time ever, she actually performed more cover songs than original songs.
Ooh.
She opened up with the house, and they were all like kind of New Orleans-y themed. She opened up with the House of the Rising Sun, which she then went into Me and Bobby McGee. She also did Summertime, Gershwin, but that's like a Janis type thing. She did U2, Running to Stand Still. She did a bunch of covers, but she kind of broke it up from her regular style of set list.
Did she do covers from her cover album, Strange Little Girls?
She actually did not at that show, but I did hear her do New Age, Velvet Underground. She did that in New York City.
Cool.
So then, after New Orleans, then I went to Dallas, and I went to Austin, Texas.
I love Austin.
And then I went to Denver, Colorado, where recreational marijuana is legal. Yeah.
You're just going to leave it at that? And you had a good time?
It was a very pleasant airplane ride home from Colorado.
Okay. Very relaxed.
Yeah, very relaxed.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so all in all, it's the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm here for some freaking Tori Amos.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So that's a hell of a vacation? A toury vacation? Touring vacation. My God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not good at interviewing, so
No.
I just make it up on the fly.
Well, after I get my copies of Tori, I suggest everyone else comes to Darkside to get them too. I'll just go first.
If we have any left. This is probably going to air, in like 2 days. So. Okay, well...
you never know.
Well, Erin, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, it was so nice
I feel like
to meet you
we should be
too.
friends.
Yeah, you want to be friends?
I think we should be friends.
Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
It's too early for me to sing on a podcast.
Oh, come on.
Far too early.
Come on.
Well, thank you for coming, and good luck getting the Tory pieces.
Carry on.
My wayward son. I'm standing here with the person who gave me my start in the record world, in music retail. I'm standing here with my former boss, Rhea.
Hi, nice to see you, and JB, as always.
Well, I guess now we're just friends. We've moved past that.
I'd hope so. Yeah. That was 100 years ago. I don't want to give away our ages, but I stopped drinking there a long time ago. So
Yes. Well, you still have wonderful, embarrassing photographs of me.
Oh, absolutely.
That you've supplied to the store.
And for the right price, I could put them on the internet. No. For the right price, I could keep them off the internet.
Okay. God damn it. So when I was a young lad of about, I think, 16, you gave me... Oh, no, I was probably 17, and I think you gave me my second job, which was working at a Sam Goody in the Lord & Taylor's parking lot in Eastchester, New York.
It's a good place, good times. If you're familiar with that, I was the one who drove the 1971 VW microbus.
That is correct.
Parked outside.
And your best friend was someone named Spike?
Still is.
Still?
To this day.
Oh.
Yeah, oh yeah. Somebody here knows her as Mama Spike. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
I feel like a couple other people probably also know her as Mama Spike.
Oh yeah, she's still going. If you need any e-cigs, you can visit Vape New York. She's got 4 stores now.
Whoa!
Oh yeah, in New York City. Go see her.
She's enterprising. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Well done, Spike. Cool. So, before we talk about past things, tell me really quick, what are you here for today at Black Friday?
We're not getting.
I don't know what that is.
Getting bananas here. Banana. There's no bananas here, but there are Cheap Trick Christmas albums here, and we're gonna hope to pick up a Cheap Trick Christmas, and we're gonna also hope to pick up that BOC, Blue Oyster Cult. So that's hot on the list.
I hear the person standing directly behind you in line is not happy about that choice that you're making.
We may have to wrestle for it.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. And a couple of exclusive Darkside t-shirts, too.
We know somebody named Spike who's actually going to pinch in and wrestle you for that BOC, and you're going down so fast. So fast. Please introduce the rest of your fam to the podcast world.
Miss Jessie Rose, you want to say hello? That's what she likes to do these days. And this is our lovely Will.
Hi.
Well, you guys, thank you all for coming. Will, are you here for something in particular this week?
The two
this
she
year?
mentioned. This is sort of like my Black Friday. Rhea's like, I got all this stuff already.
I think technically it's everyone's Black Friday.
Yes.
Because it's Black Friday?
I tried to claim it for myself.
Okay. See, you can't do that.
Can't do it.
Once somebody got trampled in a stampede, then it's someone has taken it.
You know what? I don't want it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, hi, little one. You want to just wipe spit all over my phone? That's fine too. That'll do. All right. Well, listen. I will let you guys get up to your register here. Thank you for coming to Black Friday, as always.
Thank you.
It's always lovely to see you guys.
Like
Absolutely.
Disney World. We love this place.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Vinyl Starter Kit, available here at Darkside Records. If you are just getting into vinyl, want to get into vinyl, need a gift for somebody for the holidays, the Hanukkahs, the Christmases, the what have you coming up, the Easter, that's coming up. Festivus.
I hope you have a happy what have you.
Exactly. So it includes a Audio-Technica turntable, 2 powered speakers. You get a record brush that's helpful for keeping your shit clean.
Regular.
And you also get a gift card for vinyl you can use here in the store. It's an awesome package. It's really popular every single year. People love this. It's going to be huge. It's huge.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Has it not been 30 seconds yet?
It's been way over.
Where can they find it?
Here. God damn it. They can find it here at Darkside Records, 611 Duchess Turnpike, Poughkeepsie.
And if they want more information, where can they find it?
DarksideRecords.com.
Beautiful. We'll probably have to work on it a couple more podcasts.
Well, yeah, you just threw this at me. You didn't, yeah.
Squarespace is not going to be having this shit.
Squarespace, you're having this shit.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Darkside Podcast once again. We have a special guest with us this week, all the way from Belgium, performing at BSP in Kingston on Saturday night, November 11th. We have with us Ozark Henry.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Things are going good. Happy to be here in Kingston.
Enjoying the New York frigid Arctic weather that we're having.
That was a surprise. I didn't saw that coming. I thought it would stay warm like it was in Europe before I left, but it's snowing in Europe too now. So.
Okay.
It's snowing in Belgium too. We've got the same kind of weather. So. But I'm really happy to be here. I'm working with Paul on an immersive sound for like 2 years now, and we mainly worked on recording and reproducing music in immersive sound. But as technology is slow and people who are in charge of putting things out don't see that as the next urgent release to make immersive music like available on an iPhone or an iPad, we changed a bit our focus on playing live in immersive sound, which is really cool. And we set up here at BSP because we try out something that hasn't been done before, but of which we know that it works, and it just needs to be done just to to see how we can improve it, if it makes sense. Just to it's like building a guitar and finding out if it needs 6 strings or not. Yeah.
And it's worth noting that this is the first time this has ever been performed in this way.
Yes. I think there is. I'm quite sure there's an interest in immersive performances, but and there have been immersive performances, but not with, so to say, like the latest technology.
Right.
Where we have where we use or we have full use of height, of all kind of directions of sound going out, playing on the reflections of the room itself, the way we do here. We use Paul, the setup that Paul, that's his creation, the setup we use in the middle, that really works on bouncing the sound from the middle of the room to the walls, and then work on the reflections that come back from that, which is really cool. Sounds very natural.
Yeah.
Because that's how sound always works. So and to give it some meat, we did put some speakers in the corners, just so if we play with beats and stuff, that there's also
it comes back to you. Where did your interest in immersive sound begin?
Well, the thing is that I never had any sort of interest in anything surround or anything augmented that was out there, say like 10 years ago. As I always saw it as a sort of an effect, which was something that I wasn't after or looking for. I never showed and had any interest in it. But 5 years back, I was asked by the National Orchestra of Belgium to revisit my work with a big orchestra, which was interesting. Music I've done so far was quite eclectic. My dad is a classical composer. I was brought up with classical music, so they thought there would be, that I could handle sort of transforming it or rewriting it towards like an orchestra, which was interesting. And because there was a lot of work that goes in a project like that, and I did find it a bit like sad that it would only exist for a few performances, because we performed with a 90-piece orchestra, so it's not something that you do like for many times.
Yeah.
No, it's
not easy to take on the road.
No, not at all. Well, we did some gigs, but it's financially that's
right.
It's very complicated. And I said, there must be a way that we sort of document this. We have to record it. But knowing what it sounds like to be like in such a big orchestra, and the power of the sound, all the nuances. There's no recording where you can find that back to have that same experience as when you're with the orchestra. I went to look for how can I do that. I want to have like a bigger canvas. I want to have a high resolution. Of course, I was already working in 96K, 24-bit to have like a high-res sound, but I thought, can't we go up way higher? Because to capture this, you need to have like a big canvas. I always compare what I do is, for instance, if you have to capture a 90-piece orchestra, it's like Picasso in 1937 trying to paint Guernica, and because he wants to express that war is coming and there's no way to stop it, and that was after he witnessed like horrifying events that would lead up to that war. He wanted to make something that is big. If you want to make something that is big, it needs to be big. His work is like 8 meters wide, 3.5 meters high. But if you make music, it's exactly the same. Yeah. People would think like, no, because it's music, it's different because you put it loud or you put it quiet. No, it has to do with quality. You need to have like a big canvas. So I was asking, like, where do I get a big canvas? An engineer, a mastering engineer that I work with, Darcy Proper, who works now in Hilversum in Holland, close to Amsterdam. She said, like, but if you want a big canvas, you have to think about 5.1, 7.1, 9.1. Explaining what it was, I just saw that, okay, my canvas is getting bigger.
Yeah.
I was interested in having a big canvas. In the beginning, when they told me, and it's immersive sound, that was gone straight away. I just heard like big canvas, big canvas, big canvas.
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything about immersive sound. So like, oh, this is what I need. Like, I can get a high resolution. I'm going to have like a huge sound. That's what I want. Get that sound. And of course, then reading about what 9.1 is. I have a studio, but I didn't have a 9.1 studio. I didn't even have a 5.1 studio. It was just stereo.
Yeah.
Using that technology, I thought like, okay, I'm going to use it in a way that how it's described to be used. So I will consider that it's 3D, that it's immersive, and I will play by the rules. But actually, I was only interested in the quality. But of course, when I'm reading about it, that you take the harmonics and the reflections, I was very much interested to say, yeah, that's absolutely part of that sound. It's not just the orchestra playing, it's also how it resonates in the room, the reflections that happen above the orchestra, how it just sings in the wood. That is, for instance, like the floor and stage and stuff like that. All of that makes a sound that it becomes like physical. So I read about it, got into it, played by the rules, made the album by the rules, but not having a reference because I didn't have a 9.1 setup. And the first time that I heard what I've actually done was at the mastering. When I was with Darcy, she had a 9.1 setup because she had the mastering 9.1.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what to expect. I only expected to have like a really good sound.
Yeah.
And then a world opens up, I had the sound that I was looking for, but I had way more. I was revisiting that moment. I was in that room again with that orchestra, and it's amazing. And I felt like, is it because I want to hear? Because I worked so hard on it. Do I want to hear this? Am I fooling myself?
Right.
And then I got people in from the orchestra to listen to it, and I said for me, it's really as if I'm revisiting that moment. It's that powerful. And then they came and listened, and all of them cried. Because it's so emotional, because it's not what you expect. You don't expect you close your eyes and you revisit a moment exactly as it is. Sound is around you and you almost hear the room. And I didn't take out, I like how things are natural. So that means if there was a chair that was squeaking, I didn't start working on taking it out.
Right.
That is part of that, of the performances. It's a performance sitting on a chair. There's nothing that needs to be like erased or taken out of the recording. And then, of course, having like a result, it got some attention. I was lucky that, for instance, Kevin Killen was at that time in the studio when the album was mastered. And he was working in the next room, and he walked in and said, what is this? And that way there was some attention. I got invited to AES to present the album, and then did the recording and so on. And then I met Paul, and I met people who make technology, and I was intrigued about that the fact that all of a sudden you have way more possibilities.
Right.
Of course, I have to always stay on the safe side, not to get lost in technology.
Yeah.
Because that's not where I should be. But from time to time, one needs to do like an experiment to see what are the possibilities. So what we're doing here is an experiment to see where the possibilities, and then I have to think on, when it's just serving the music, and when we are just, losing ourselves too much in technology. So, which I don't have as a person. I think that I'm so for instance, like Paul is more. He's more a tech guy, so he could lose himself more in. Although he's just like me, a musician, but being like really strong in working with these technologies and understanding them, I can understand that it's easy to get to
keep trying to push the envelope.
Yeah.
And so for this performance that you're doing, is he? Just so I understand the relationship, like how you guys are working together in that space. Is he controlling you? Are you performing it and he's distributing it to channels?
Yeah, how it works is that I work with the Rolly blocks. I play live on it, but also work at it as a loop station. Mm-hmm. I consider that to be like all the loops and beats that I made with it go in the corners of the room. That's like the body of the music, and that's a level. They move around, but they need to stay in sync with how it feels natural. And then there's the sound that goes up in the speaker setup that Paul, that's actually his invention, how to work with that, with the reflections. And then he puts in the vocal and the vocal effects, but the vocal effects, everything comes straight from the machine. So we don't use, for instance, there's no equalizing that's been done. We don't add effects or anything. So everything comes straight from the performance, but he moves it around. Yeah. So the sound moves. So what we do is, why does sound move? Because it already bounces against the walls.
Right.
And because it's natural that sounds always move. When we're talking, I turn my head, it just bounces differently, and you never sit still. Apart from the fact that you're in a performance, you have to sing in a mic, so you're fixed to that, which is in a way unnatural. Because otherwise, if you would sing and you don't have to sing in a mic, you wouldn't just sing like this and sit in one position, not changing it ever. So to get again close to how it would be natural, he's moving that around, and that's where he's spatializing it and he's syncing it with images that we project on the screens.
Cool. And in terms of the visuals, are they chosen? Like, obviously they're chosen specifically, or are they, again, like naturally occurring technology, I suppose?
It's playing with technology, and then looking at it and making certain choices. I think that the outcome of the performance of how the music is played, that there's like an old analog electro feel is about how and that the images should also have that kind of feel. So Paul came up with all kind of things that he is doing with a program. I forgot the name. That is just like a synthesizer having an impact on how the frequencies flow, disturbing them, and then it makes figures and it makes shapes, and it makes those shapes move and change, like LFO does, for instance. And I picked out the ones that feel which have a connection with the music. The idea was to demonstrate when he makes them flow in a certain way. I pick up the speed from the image, but because they were so focused on something with the video, we didn't do that. You just pressed play and things were going everywhere. But so there was no connection now. But the idea is to have a connection with that.
Right.
I think the connection helps you. The image and the connection helps you to, if there's a center point when you're listening, it makes sense that there's movement. If there's no center point when you're listening, the movement is too abstract, in the sense that you wouldn't know
where to follow it.
It's like you need to have like this is you need to touch base somewhere.
Yeah.
This is point zero. That's where it starts. And the images in the middle, just as a focus point, help to say this is where it comes from. This is where it goes out, and if it moves,
this is where it returns.
It moves from here. So that's a bit the idea of working with the video projection.
To describe it to those who may not have the chance to see it, so you and Paul are going to be in this sort of triangular booth, surrounded by 3 screens, and there are speakers set up around the room, and a cluster of speakers right above you projecting out. And the concept here is that instead of just being a solitary, stationary performance, the audience is to move around and experience it as it happens throughout the room.
Yep.
And you guys just gave us a little taste before we came to talk, and I think the one thing I couldn't move on from was thinking that this is a unique experience that I will, never really experience again. Like, this is a moment that somebody else cannot possibly understand unless they were here.
Yes, I think it's the difficulty about anything that is immersive sound. I'm quite passionate about it, but it's frustrating in a way that you cannot share it. Because you can only understand what it is if you really experience it. And then, of course, you can decide if it's something that you like or you don't. But it's not, you cannot, there's no way of explaining what it is. Because you talk about something that, if you haven't experienced, that in a way doesn't exist. I always make the comparison with wine. It's like talking about wine, and wine does not exist. You know? And all you know is vinegar. You know? And then you would say, like, but I have this wine. It's great. Imagine people drink vinegar. I have this wine. This is great. You're used to drink vinegar, but this is something else. If you haven't tasted wine, and you have no idea of what it is, you would say this is full of BS. You're just trying to sell me something for a lot of money, but in the end, it's going to be vinegar anyway.
Right.
Everything is vinegar. What is he talking about? So that's the hard thing about communicating. So there's no other way just to go out and do stuff and to perform in this kind of setup. So
yeah, it's just this thing I felt stuck on now. It's like it's a thing that you can know that no one else can know, because it's going to be unique to yourself, and just the whole experience is fascinating.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, I also find it's really cool, and it's going to be cool with any style of music. Sometimes people, when they listen to something, when I did the album with the orchestra, people say, "Oh yeah, but it's great because it fits so well with classical music." But it had nothing to do with that it was great because it was classical music.
Yeah,
it's like what a weird, as if you would say like stereo is great stereo is only great for rock music. You know? Jazz don't need stereo. It has nothing to do with the genre. It's a format, and immersive sound is the most natural format there is. And I'm convinced that we will go from, like we went from mono to stereo, we're going to go from stereo to immersive sound, and that it will be available, and that we will be used to experience it, and that it's going to be the future. It would just depend on if somebody sees that he can make enough money on it,
right,
to make the transition. That's the only thing that you have to.
How do you see that on like the consumer end level? Like, what is the product?
I think the products, I've already seen many people working on solutions to have like headphones that allow you an experience like that. Also, if you have like a 9.1 setup, that means you need 9 speakers, but you don't need the same size of speakers,
right,
because what you're asking from your speakers is divided by
direction.
By all of those. It will be, I'm quite sure it will be wireless. So you could have like a 9.1 setup. You just put it in a sports bag. You go to friends and say, well, we have a party in this room. You just set them up it in the room. You calibrate it, and you have a 9.1 party. You go back home. You put it in your bag. It's going to be portable. It's going to be easy. It's going to be
anything. Since it's what we do, can you see a place for a physical, good version of it?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because I'm still releasing music in stereo, but I only do it mainly on vinyl, and I put, like, if people want a CD, there's a CD in the vinyl. There's not the other way around. And I always liked like a physical product because it embodies what you care about, and I think there's no other thing than music that expresses so much our personality, our taste, who we are in life, how we look at life, what our expectations are. You can name it. It's always, there's first music, and then all the rest follows.
Yeah.
So music is always it will always be a big deal. I never liked CDs when CDs came out, and then they put it in like a cheap plastic box. Why? Because it doesn't reflect on how important music is in our lives. How can anything that is so, when I think back of the music that I grew up with, and the first time that I heard it, and how much it meant to me, and I was waiting, for records to come out, and that was on vinyl. The first time that we could hear the record and then to discover it, and then every track, that it was a sacred thing. And all of a sudden, I think the industry has done something ugly with it, made it something cheap, and then if people don't want to pay for music anymore, it's because the industry made it that way.
Yeah,
they're responsible for devaluating something we care about so much. So a physical product, yes, I think there's gonna be like a bigger market for physical products than there is now, if you approach it with the right attitude. Make something beautiful. Make something that really shows off, why that is so important to you. Why that is. Also, I mean, like from an artist also towards a fan. As an artist, you care a lot about your music because it's very personal. But people also really invest in following you, and it becomes a part of their life.
Yeah.
You have to do what's the right word to. Not just consider, I can't find the right word, but to acknowledge that, and you do that by showing, how much you care, you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. I don't like, for instance, but my favorite artist, if they come out and I want to show up or play it to somebody, I wouldn't like that I have to come up with something cheap, because I wouldn't say it's not respectful to what I just, this is great music. I would like to put out like the best, the nicest release of it, or the.
It's sort of something I say to people fairly often. It's like no artist goes, takes their time to think and record and go to a studio and all this, physical brain power and energy and their dollars or other people's dollars to create something for you to then passively stream it on a phone.
That's the thing, and also out of context. I can understand that it's an interesting. I see streaming or like you would Google something.
Exactly.
You look it up and you say like, I heard about, like we would talk about music and you mentioned like an artist. I never heard about him. No, I just stream it. Check it. Oh, that's what it. But if I really want to dig into it, that's not where I want to be.
Right.
It's
the.
It's a place where you can find a reference. It's a telephone book.
Yeah, it's a loss of memory, really. You're not responsible for your choices anymore because they're always at your fingertips.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
yeah, really cool. Cool.
Well, is there anything you want to share? Anything you want to relay to our listeners?
Ooh, I think I mainly said anything that probably what music means to me and why. For instance, like immersive sound is important to me, or why I'm passionate about it. I'm also passionate about it because if it allows you to be more involved in a performance or more involved in music, the level on which you share is higher. And I think if there's anything that is representing emotional intelligence, then it's art and then it's music. And if there's anything lacking in this world, then it's emotional intelligence. I went to San Francisco now 5 weeks ago to learn more about artificial intelligence. I was invited because they wanted to hear like my findings in my field, and I was interesting to learn about artificial intelligence, machine learning, all those things, and to see how they place that in a humane society. What's the place? Because that's intriguing. And I saw that people were very passionate about it and enthusiastic about it, and expecting things that I couldn't see. I'm not underestimating artificial intelligence, not at all. It is very, very powerful. But the thing is that when people do with artificial intelligence, they underestimate like the importance of emotions and the importance of emotional intelligence. All the big decisions in the world aren't made by intelligence. When I was in San Francisco, they thought and probably this is going to this is going to solve like climate change. But the problem of climate change has nothing to do with intelligence. Just ask your president.
Yeah.
Science is showing us already, without artificial intelligence,
right,
what we're up to. But for some reason, the gut feeling says, no, we're not going to do this. So it's about emotion. So we need to invest way more in emotional intelligence. We have to invest way more in empathy. We have to have a real moral compass, I think. Not a moral compass that goes like north, south. So to say that's, with a compass like that, imagine if you have to travel with it. You won't get anywhere, because it has no detail. There's almost no direction. So I find it important that therefore to give music and art its place back in society, because that's really what it represents, that emotional intelligence. And if that intelligence goes away, because it seems also like in the way we consume, for instance, like art and music, as something that you chew on it and you spit it out. Probably that's why there's emotional intelligence is lacking, and why it's so difficult in the world, and why sometimes people can still be, although history has learned us so much, still make certain choices. I would say like that was weird,
I think it's clear that everybody is looking for connection in some way, and they're, otherwise like things like social media would not be a thing. But I think maybe people have but forgotten that you can go experience something in the world to find context for the rest of your life as well.
Yeah, totally.
And one other thing I would like to touch on too, I read about your work with the United Nations a little bit in human trafficking.
Yep.
Can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, human trafficking is something that affects every nation in the world, and that for sure shames us all. It's modern-day slavery. It happens everywhere, and it's very hard to do something about it. Why? Because a lot of people don't know what it is. It's not something one can explain in a tweet, so therefore it's already difficult to communicate what it is. And it's something that is mainly possible because one can recoup inequality so easily. We don't question the fact that sometimes people live in conditions which are completely unacceptable, and we always like to think that people made that choice. Quite often victims of human trafficking have been manipulated in a way that they also believe that they made that choice, but it's not. They've been exploited, and it happens in our big cities next to the industry of weapons and drugs. Is the most lucrative business in the world, and that's probably one of the reasons why it still exists.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And it's so, it is. It's also why it's very hard to do something against it. I've been a goodwill ambassador for this cause in an official mandate for 3 years now, and I was in Vienna 2 weeks back, and I thought I was there I did a benefit concert to support the victims of human trafficking, but they also took the opportunity to thank me for what I've done, because I had the best result on fighting human trafficking so far. And I did find it very sad, actually, because I know that I tried to do as much as I can, but understanding the wideness of the problem and how little of us are fighting it because it's dangerous to fight it, because of the money that's been put in. People don't like that. That people are making something that is now invisible visible. It was crazy, It's such a huge problem. I don't know. Officially, there's like 40 million people living in slavery, and the estimated figures are, if you can identify like one, at least there must be 5. So the number is, of course, way higher.
Right.
And then if I look back at what I've done, and then I do my best, but I see it as a responsibility that everybody should take. That was people couldn't understand, but that was a really, really sad day. I was hoping, like, I'm just, one of the little,
Yeah, a voice.
Yeah, it's just a voice in a bigger group, and then if I'm standing out, then this is way worse than I ever expected it to be, and it's about inequality. I think it has to do with, it's like you said so nicely, people want to connect, but I think like the capitalist world has told us or taught us that maybe being connected means that you're attached to something. Attached to property, attached to, but that has nothing to do with being connected. And I think because people are sometimes not educated in that way, they see attachment as a connection, and then when they attach to something, they're very disappointed because there's nothing coming back from it. So in a way, they feel like I do everything right in my life, to sort of say I touch all the boxes.
Yeah.
Still, I don't feel like that I don't feel good about anything, or I don't feel like this is great. And it's because you in a way you don't connect. The biggest an easy example is if I live in a small coastal town, you have beautiful beach. If I'm on that beach, I love to be on that beach in the winter time. Sometimes I'm on that beach just on my own. I'm so thankful to have that moment. I'm connecting with that place in the world, and I connect with it as it feels like my home, and I connect with nature. I don't need to possess that beach. That beach doesn't need to be mine. It's like if we would have listened to like the native Indians years ago, they already knew. They connected. They were trying to connect. Trying to connect is sometimes to do the opposite of attaching to something. So you're free to connect, and that would also, I think, it's one of the things that would solve inequality. Sometimes people say that there's too many of us to have a solution for things, but that's how you look at it. It's for sure. There's too many of us if we all want to be like a billionaire. That's not possible.
Yeah. It's also,
but to have like a good life, and letting people have access to what is important in life, that's possible.
I think part of it too is like when you attain some of that good life, you find yourself comfortable or thinking that I can see that this is an issue, and somebody else is going to do something about it. Or you take the opposite side of the coin, like, well, I've worked for what I've got and what I've done, and why can't you?
Yep.
It's not my problem. You can solve this on your own.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it has to do with you never get the full picture.
Yeah.
So you never can see anyone's history to understand why people end up in a certain situation, why things happen like that in their life. Things aren't that simple. So I've learned through the years that judging is, you need to have like a lot of information to be sure that if you judge on something that it's right. And then, of course, I talk about the daily things. I don't talk about like if extreme things happen and to judge if that's wrong or right. But that's important also to understand where that comes from.
So your show will be Saturday night, November 11th, here at BSP in Kingston. Tickets, you can get them at BSP at the door. You can obviously you can get them at Darkside Records. If people want to find more about you, where can they find information about you?
I got a website. It's just ozarkhenry.com.
Easy.
Yep.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sitting down with us.
Thanks for the attention.
No, thank
Really
you so
cool.
much.
Yep.
Yeah.